Hey, it's Jeff Hyman, your startup therapist, where we focus on the people part of startups. And I'm thrilled to be here with an old friend, Anne Nimke. Hey, Anne.
Hi, Jeff. How are you?
Great. Good to see you again.
Good to see you.
Anne is co-founder of a fascinating business called The Good Jobs, and based in Milwaukee. And Anne and her organization work with startups, with large companies across the country, and they have a fascinating approach in that they develop and help companies develop a fantastic culture, which drives both recruiting and retention, which is something we talk about all the time. So that's going to be the focus of today for the 15 minutes or so. We're going to talk with Anne about how you build a healthy culture and, importantly, how you can incorporate that into recruiting to create a very powerful magnet to pull in rock stars, something that we talk about all the time. So, Anne, with that kind of setup, maybe you could give us 30, 60 seconds about Good Jobs, the business, and then we'll get into what you've learned about culture development.
That's great. Thanks, Jeff. The Good Jobs really grew out of the fact that I have about 35 years experience in recruiting and staffing. And I just found that there was not a way for a company to tell their culture story well, and that job seekers were getting more and more demanding, looking for more information. You know, the Yelpification of all of our interests in getting reviews and more information. So we developed the Good Jobs as a turnkey employment branding solution to help companies first quantify who they are in terms of culture and really look at what do they offer to their employees and to job seekers so that they can say, here's the kind of employer I am.
So if I'm a founder of a great startup and I'm hiring, instead of just saying this is a great place to work,
right,
you actually can help me define what the heck that means and help me project that to potential candidates so they understand this is a place I want to actually consider.
Founders and even experienced CEOs often think that just having the opportunity to work for the organization is attractive enough.
Yeah.
You know, what's posted on the job boards are a job description. Here's what you have to be able to do, and here's where you're going to spend your time every day. But there's nothing in there for the job seeker to say, why should I bring my talent there?
Right.
So a founder or anyone who is recruiting for talent really has to not look only at acquiring talent, but how to attract them.
Right.
How to make it so that that individual can see that their lifestyle and their work style and their personal growth is going to be met. They don't want to leave their values at the door when they come every day. And it's been proven that job seekers look most at the wording in a job posting that describes the company.
Right. Even more so than the job.
And describes the job, but not the bullets.
Wow.
They don't read
Fascinating.
all the expectations. It's too easy to apply.
Yeah.
They can click on a job posting.
They want to know, tell me about the company, the organization. Yep. So I'm founder of a great company, and we're growing, and we're hiring people. We're hiring developers and sales reps, you name it. What have you learned about the key components of culture, which is a very fuzzy word, that are important for me to think about in projecting to candidates? It's a lot more than getting a ping pong table, I'm sure.
Yep. Let's first talk about what a founder should think about in saying, what is my company all about? Certainly there's the mission piece. Then there's the transparency piece. Then there's the environment and communication. Okay, so let's, first off, those four things a founder or any kind of leader should think about. How are you going to define it? So that's the first part.
Got it. And those four, just so I'm clear, Ann, those four are consistent across all employers.
No question.
Mission, so people want to be part of something bigger than themselves.
Right.
The environment, the office, I assume that's telecommuting, my work environment with people.
Absolutely.
Communications, do we communicate up, down, across? Is it healthy communication?
And I'm going to say communication. How are things communicated when something good happens?
Yeah, and bad.
and how are things when something bad happens, either by an individual or the organization or a customer?
So candor, building a candid environment is part of that. And then what was the fourth one?
Transparency.
Transparency. Does the leadership team convey in a transparent way the status of the business? Can people feel free being honest and entering the danger?
And asking a question without having a ramification or being fearful.
Got it. Okay. So we've already gotten great value in because now we know these are the four things.
Yes.
So for a founder, what do I do with that? How do I begin to either define my culture or improve it so that those four become recruiting magnets for me?
Okay, I'm going to use an example. So you know what consumer branding is. You know that you brand your product. And I like to say that branding has to do with the experience that your customer has. So think about employment branding being what's the experience that your employees are having? What is the experience that a job seeker can expect? And again, it hits those 4 points, and you think about, okay, how does that interact with the employee? How am I interacting? How am I holding my managers accountable for interacting? So defining culture can be any of the things we've talked about, including ping pong table,
Yeah, sure, sure.
or schedule, or training, or dress code, all of those things. But don't forget the communication piece. And don't fall into the trap of using euphemisms.
Yeah.
Great places to work organizations. Every company has a great place to work,
Yeah.
a great place to work, has a fun environment, is flexible, is family friendly. And
It's almost, job seekers just overlook all that stuff. So how do I begin to bring that to life and yet avoid cliches? So how do I explain that we are a candid company, you can communicate openly, it's a great environment? What do I say that job seekers will even believe?
So couple things that can be done. First, have a CEO video. Talk to the candidates, put it on your website, share. You're already talking to your employees, talk to the job seekers, and make yourself available via multimedia or via in person, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then you want to be able to get employee testimonials. Okay, have them speak. You can do it just in quotes. You can do it in a video.
It's really no different than consumer marketing, right?
Recruitment marketing,
right? Right.
You've forgotten the marketing piece.
Yeah.
It's turned into talent acquisition.
Well, look, in 2008, you don't need to worry about it because people are desperate for jobs. Right. Now we're at the lowest unemployment level in years, 5-6%. For highly educated people, it's down to 1% or whatever it is.
Yep.
The war for talent is back on.
It is. It was coined in 1996, and McKinsey said it was going to happen in 2010. A couple of years later, after a recession, here we are.
So aside from a CEO video, or employee testimonials,
yes.
What other things have you learned as best practices?
So if you want to use the euphemisms that we talked about, and you say, to work here, it's like this, give examples.
Yeah.
So if you're family friendly, give 1, 2, 3 examples.
Supporting messages, just like in consumer marketing, you're giving supporting points to your claim.
Yep.
Got it.
Features and benefits.
Got it.
Features and benefits.
Have you? So it makes me think of something. Have you found that companies that do well at recruitment marketing actually get the marketing team of the company involved in working with HR? Because many HR and recruiters are not really. They don't have a marketing background, communications background.
So first off, the marketing department should be looking at job seekers as part of their customer base, right? You have a reputation that is out to the public, and job seekers are part of the public. And actually, recruiting and HR really have 2 different audiences. An HR department focuses on the employees who are already hired, and most of the people that recruiters talk to are the public.
Right.
So join HR, how do you communicate to employees? Recruiting, how to communicate to the public and job seekers specifically, and marketing, who knows that branding. That is a triumvirate that can't lose. Many organizations, larger organizations that have all these departments, when they work together, it's great. When they don't and there's a wall, it doesn't work as well. But in a smaller organization, individuals are wearing many hats. So just don't forget about the marketing to your employees. Think about, I'll tell you, employee referrals are the #1 quality hire source.
That could be my next question. What is the going rate? How much should I be paying my employees for employee referrals? I know the range is all over the map, but have you found a hurdle point over which employees really think about referrals?
I got to tell you, it's a cultural thing. If the company is really motivating their employees and rewarding their employees based on compensation, and commission, and bonuses, and performance rewards, then you're going to build it into however you do that. And I have seen some of the best employee referral programs don't pay anything.
Right, because employees are so motivated to refer people.
Yeah, so the best culture doesn't need to pay.
So your firm, Good Jobs, does work for huge companies. I know you told me you do work with Zappos, with Kohl's, the major retailer, Roundy's, the huge supermarket chain, and you work with startups.
Yes.
What have you learned about the connection between culture and compensation? Startups frequently have less cash. Even if they've raised maybe venture capital money, they just can't afford to pay as much potentially or offer as rich benefits. If I develop a great magical culture and I'm good at communicating it,
Yes.
can I pay less? And if so, what have you learned about that connection?
We did a survey of job seekers, and 98% of them said that culture is as important, if not more important, than compensation. Okay?
98%.
98%. And we say the 2% that...
They're investment bankers.
They are desperate job seekers who will take any job.
Yeah.
And I have to say, every generation, this isn't just a millennial thing. Gallup has determined that the decade of the 40s is the least engaged employee.
Right.
Okay? Baby boomers like myself, I'm looking at, okay, I've got my last third of my employment life. I want to do what's meaningful. I want to do what fits with my lifestyle.
Right.
I've decided that it's not 100% work. Millennials certainly are saying that. So there isn't a question that you can leverage your culture, first off, to create awareness and differentiation.
Yeah. And
second off, to be a benefit for them.
So this information is public knowledge. It's hard. It's simple, but not easy.
Yes.
There's no secrets. And if I'm a founder of a startup, say in Chicago or New York or San Francisco, there's a war for talent. It's like an arms race, right? This culture gets a chef. We need a chef. They get a picnic table, ping pong table. We need the same. How do I win that without getting sucked into an arms race? How do I differentiate myself in a way that isn't going to cost me an arm and a leg?
It's about authenticity, all right? So we have companies that are not fun and crazy like Zappos that allows you to decorate your desks and all. We have customers that are banks, and their main investment is corporate responsibility and career development. Okay, it's not just the fun stuff. We're talking about flexibility of hours. The key is authenticity. Who you are. You need to not kind of pretend you're all these things. I would say if you were looking at career development and corporate responsibility and flexibility and work from home or fun things, don't try to be all things to all people.
Right.
You want to attract the individuals who certainly have the skills that you have.
You need a target market, just like any marketing program.
Exactly.
Right. You're not going after all employees.
Yep. So if you're a small organization, I had one of our customers say, we want it made clear that we're not a sports-driven environment. We don't do Packer Fridays.
Yeah.
Don't use those kinds of things. And I had, I think, 5 people in the room, and they all said, oh, yeah, you got to say that. That's who we are.
Right.
So you have uniquenesses that are there. And sometimes the uniqueness is that you're a 24/7 company.
Again, it's so similar to marketing. You need a target market. You need positioning and messaging that support that, and you need a point of differentiation. You can't be all things to all people.
That's right.
You will spend way too much money on culture and all these things for the office. It's not going to work.
Yep. So again, you said, what does a leader need to do? They probably started this company because they wanted to work for an organization they'd like to work for.
Right.
Okay. Tony Hsieh, before he started Zappos, had a very, very successful company, and he said he didn't like it anymore. He didn't like going to work anymore. So he said he sold it and created a new company. Yeah. I don't know if I'm employable anymore. I want to create the company I want to work for.
Right.
And a lot of startup leaders are doing that. So they have a picture in their mind. In their dreams, they started creating that company. So just try and quantify it.
Got it.
And there are things that are very quantifiable. Having the definition of the mission, knowing the benefits and programs and activities and how you invest your employees is a way to do it. Write down how you communicate to employees. Do you have regular meetings? Do you have regular
what is the cadence of the company? A lot of what we talk about with Startup Therapist is what are we doing daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly to get in a cycle where everyone feels well communicated to and understands the status of the business.
Yep, and one of the other keys is you can have an aspirational culture and communicate that, but you have to say who you really are now and say, here's where we plan on going. We want the employees we add to our organization to help us get there, but don't present the aspirational culture as the one you have now.
Let's talk about, before we wrap up, some of the tough, very specific questions I get with regard to culture. You're the expert, so you'll tell us. Where we've been telecommuting for many years now. What has the jury told us on telecommuting? working from home. Yahoo doesn't allow it. Other companies insist on it. At the end of the day, can you build a healthy, vibrant culture if everyone works from home in a distributed way? Is it possible?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Zappos is another organization that there are no virtual employees, but I have a customer who has 65%, a prospect, hopefully a customer soon, has 65% of their workforce is work at home.
So how do you do it? How do you build a culture when everyone works from home?
Flexibility and communication. So, and identifying, asking them, okay, you need to know what your workforce is looking for. This organization has an extreme perk, and employees who work from home get to expense 1 day of housekeeping a month.
Wow. Okay.
So think about it.
Yeah.
65% of their staff is at home.
Yeah.
They need to lead with that. There's another small marketing company in Chicago that almost everyone is virtual. They have online yoga classes for their employees.
So if you're going to do it, do it, and do it in the right way and invest.
Yes.
Next difficult question I get is, what does a company that care about its culture and its message do when it's rejecting candidates? So you're going to reject 99% of candidates because hopefully you have such a great culture, you get a ton of interest in people joining the company.
Yes.
What do I do and how do I communicate to let people down in a way that lets them go away feeling good about my company even if we didn't hire them?
Well, too many candidates, regardless of size of organization, feel that their resume and their interest in an organization goes into a black hole.
Yeah. So just getting back to them is you're better than most.
Communication, yes, courtesy. Think about returning a phone call. And actually, there's an organization called the Candy Awards, called the Candidate Experience Awards.
Wow.
CANDE. And they do a review. So you can look them up and see what are job seekers looking for from the application process.
Wow. Again, communication, candor, honesty.
Yep.
Got it.
I'll tell you what, if you get an unsolicited resume, you're not looking for someone, you should probably just say thanks. Thanks, we'll review your information, right?
Yep.
And I would add and say, while we're looking at you, take a look at us. Here's our culture.
Got it.
So put that in there.
Yeah.
Then for individuals that you might do a phone screen of, you need to give them a disposition. Don't phone screen them and then they're telling you their heart and soul.
Yeah.
They're opening up all of their doors to all of the interviewers' question. Get back to them and let them know.
Yeah.
Are they moving on to the next step? And here's why it didn't work out. But keep looking for other positions.
Got it.
If you've done a personal interview, they deserve a phone call.
Absolutely. Not just an email.
Past an email. An email and a phone call would probably be a good thing.
Wow.
So just communication. You think about how you treat your customers.
Yeah.
If they called and said, I'm interested in your product, would you let that lead go away?
Sure.
Even if they weren't a qualified lead, you'd respond to them.
Last question. Why is this so hard? I mean, what you're describing makes sense, right? If you think about recruiting as marketing, why do we all screw this up? Why don't we spend enough time on it? Why do entrepreneurs not realize that if you get this right, the business kind of takes care of itself?
Yeah. You know, some of it is history, okay? Industrial Revolution, there were paternalistic organizations, right? And employees felt very secure.
Yeah.
Working 35 years and they wanted their kids to follow in their footsteps. The paternalistic organization has gone away, right? How many times have people who've gotten laid off or right-sized heard, it's just business, it's not personal.
Right.
It's starting to swing the other way.
Yep.
And because of the shortage, job seekers and employees are getting more in the driver's seat.
Yep.
It's hard because it's changed. And I am sorry to say, I have talked to some employers, CEOs, that have told me, I don't know what you're talking about. Our employees are lucky to have a job.
So they really don't get it at all.
They don't get it.
Yeah.
They're running their business as if the employee is easily replaceable.
Right.
And you have to decide, is that the kind of organization you want? Do you want to build a community? Then you have to look at all of the levels of communication that you've got and how you treat them, and not just work from that aspiration, not just think you're this kind of company, but test yourself.
I lied. I have one more question, and then we're going to wrap up. If I'm a startup or an early stage company, when do I hire a full-time head of talent to own culture, retention, recruiting? Mm-hmm. Should it be my second hire, my 50th hire? How do I know when I'm ready to actually make it someone's job?
The standby for an HR person, which again is different than a recruiter.
Yeah.
An HR person for benefits and administration and training and all of that is usually 80 to 100 employees.
Okay.
A recruiter, if you're 3 people and you need to hire 50, You might need two recruiters.
Got it. But who owns this stuff you're talking about? Me, the founder, the CEO? Or do I say, you, head of talent, you own this stuff? It's that important that we're going to make it into a job.
I'm going to say whoever owns it, they have to be held accountable. The CEO can own it, and that's not a bad thing. Universum just did a study, and they said about 30% of CEOs feel that they own the culture.
Yeah.
If you're going to have marketing, or if you're going to have HR or recruiting own the brand, then you need to hold them accountable.
Sure. But someone has to own it.
Somebody has to own it.
Great.
And I have one organization that they have an employee engagement committee.
Great.
And that reports to the CEO, but it's all employees with a management representation as well. So it just has to be owned.
Yeah.
And it has to. Why not make it live? Right. That's your organization.
It sounds like if you don't make it live, it's kind of the beginning of the end. I mean, how can you build a successful startup without it?
It's really tough.
Great.
I'll tell you, there are companies that they don't even think they have a culture, or they just don't invest in it at all.
Right.
And you know what? They can be successful.
Yeah.
But as an owner, as a startup, you're building something, and you want to build a community with it.
And this is so fascinating and so insightful. How can people learn more about the Good Jobs, and how can people get in touch with you if they want some help doing this?
So our website is www.thegoodjobs.com.
Okay.
We have the first ever company culture directory. So you can go and look at every one of our customers and what they're saying about their culture in the detail, and earn badges based on their employee program.
Almost like a good housekeeping seal of approval.
We would love to start to set the standard of culture language.
I love it. Awesome.
Again, it's not all things to all people, but you have to start by quantifying it. So I'm Anne at The Good Jobs, ANNE. So by all means, give me a call or reach out to me from the website.
Great. Anne, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.
All right. Take care.
Take care.